Today is Thursday, May 9th. What to know about President Biden's most direct warning to Israel since the war in Gaza began. Also, another tense day on Capitol Hill. American school leaders were grilled, and a congresswoman got booed on the House floor. Plus, the latest in the debate about fluoride in drinking water. Why both Miss USA and Miss Teen USA resigned from their roles this week. And how a feud between two well-known rappers is breaking streaming records. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. For the first time since the war in Gaza began, the U.S. is using its power as Israel's top supporter to try to influence the Israeli government's approach. In an interview, President Biden told CNN if Israel moves ahead with its ground invasion of Rafah, despite months of international warnings, he will stop sending any more offensive weapons. Remember, one shipment of bombs was already put on hold. This marks a big shift for Biden, who has in the past resisted calls to impose conditions on military aid to Israel or suspend it altogether. But he's especially concerned about the more than 1 million Palestinian civilians who are sheltering in Rafah. Biden said American bombs have already been used to kill civilians in Gaza, and he did not want to also supply the weapons that could do even more damage and amplify a humanitarian crisis. Of course, Israel says that's not really its goal either, but that Rafah is the last stronghold for the Hamas terror group that's known for purposely operating around civilians, and that taking out Hamas is key to the national security of Israel. Either way, Biden says the U.S. will keep giving Israel defensive weapons like those for the Iron Dome anti-missile system. In response, Israeli officials called Biden's decision frustrating and accused him of just caving to political pressure. The decision also drew criticism from top Republican leaders and Democrats in the U.S. They say it risks emboldening Israel's enemies and undermining the trust other allies have in America. But other Democrats say Biden made the right decision and that it should only be the start of limits the U.S. puts on Israel. And we've told you earlier this week, Israeli troops have already taken some military action in Rafah. But President Biden says they haven't yet crossed his red line, which is entering population centers. So, to be continued. Members of Congress have expanded their fight over anti-Semitism in education. So it's now going beyond colleges and into grade schools. They question leaders from 3 K-12 public school districts that have dealt with anti-Semitic incidents recently. The chancellor of New York City Public Schools told them the real antidote to anti-Semitism is education about Jewish history. And the other school leaders agreed. They all say they've been working with outside organizations to revise curriculum around Jewish history. Still, this won't be the end of the discussion. The Education Department has opened investigations into each of the 3 districts that were called to testify, as well as a few dozen others. By the way, protests are still going strong at high schools and at colleges around the country. In Washington, D.C. yesterday, police used pepper spray to clear an encampment at George Washington University and arrested dozens of protesters. Police also moved in to break up an encampment at the University of Massachusetts. About 130 people were arrested there. And those are just a couple of recent examples. As promised, the right flank of the Republican Party went ahead with a vote to try to get rid of another leader. Conservative Republicans have been upset with Speaker Mike Johnson over a foreign aid package that passed last month. They say it prioritized foreign needs over the needs of Americans, and they don't like that he turned to Democrats for their votes. So this week, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene gave a speech and filed a motion to vacate Speaker Mike Johnson. As she spoke, she was booed on the House floor by both Democrats and some Republicans. Then, almost immediately, Johnson's supporters offered up a motion to end her effort, and the vote was overwhelmingly in Johnson's favor. Now, Mike Johnson says, quote, "Hopefully this is the end of personality politics." Millions of Americans are still facing the risk of severe weather this morning after what's already been a destructive week. Yesterday, Tennessee got the brunt of it, with tornadoes and flash flooding ripping through the state. Sadly, at least 2 people died there, and another person was killed in North Carolina. Dozens of people were also hurt, and there was widespread damage across many southern states. Today, the severe weather is expected to shift into the southeast and mid-Atlantic. The highest risk extends from Texas to Georgia, bringing with it the possibility of hail, damaging winds, tornadoes, and flash flooding. The good news is the chances for severe weather in the U.S. will finally start to go down by the end of the week. We have much more news for you still ahead, but first, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Something I've realized about myself over the years is that I do like to talk things out, process what's going on in my life through discussing it, and then I feel better. And while I have great friends and family, I don't want to be constantly talking to them about all my stressors, big and small. But then again, I don't want to keep them bottled up either. That would just lead to more problems. So that's one of the many reasons I appreciate therapy. It's a time to get all the things off my chest, no need to hold back, and then I actually get helpful responses and guidance from a professional. If you're thinking of starting therapy, BetterHelp is an online-only option designed to be convenient and flexible for your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And from there, you can feel it out and switch therapists anytime to make sure you get the right fit for you for no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/newsworthy today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. The world's largest plant designed to suck pollution out of the atmosphere is now up and running. The Swiss company Climeworks opened the direct air capture plant in Iceland. It's the second commercial plant that it's opened there, but this one is 10 times bigger than its predecessor. Climeworks says the plant will be able to pull 36,000 tons of carbon from the atmosphere every year. That's equal to taking about 7,800 gas-powered cars off the road for a year. Though carbon removal technologies are criticized as being expensive, energy-hungry, and unproven at scale to have a truly meaningful impact. Still, there are plans to build even more of these plants all around the world. Here in the U.S., $3.5 billion from the bipartisan infrastructure law is going to develop at least 4 more hubs. And they're expected to be much larger and much more effective than anything operating now. So stay tuned. Microsoft announced another plan to invest billions of dollars in artificial intelligence. A new data center is being built in Wisconsin. It's expected to create thousands of jobs as well as training programs for workers to learn AI technology. It's also becoming another big talking point in the presidential race. And not just because Wisconsin is a key swing state. The sprawling facility is actually planned for the same plot of land where, in 2018, former President Trump announced a multi-billion-dollar investment by Foxconn. But it never fully materialized. So yesterday, President Biden joined Microsoft's president for the announcement and made a point to say, quote, "On my watch, we make promises and we keep promises." And Microsoft's president thanked the Biden administration for economic policies that set the stage for these kinds of developments. But the Republican National Committee says the White House is just trying to cover up a poor economic record marked by high inflation. And Trump has said many times before that the economy was in better shape when he was in office and will be again if he wins in November. One thing's for sure, no matter who is in office next year, there's a lot of planned development for artificial intelligence. Besides Microsoft, Amazon, Google's parent company Alphabet, and Meta have each committed to spending tens of billions of dollars to build out AI infrastructure. The failed crypto exchange FTX has a new plan to pay back customers who lost billions of dollars when the company collapsed, plus interest. FTX managed to raise the money by selling off its assets, mostly investments. And it will likely bring some relief to customers whose money has been locked up since the company went bankrupt in 2022. But customers still don't really stand to recover what they lost. Most users will get 118% of the value of their assets at the time FTX collapsed. So to put that into perspective, if someone had a Bitcoin on FTX at that time, it was worth about $19,000. With this recovery plan, they would get back about $21,000. But here's the thing. If they still had that Bitcoin today, it would be worth more than $61,000, since crypto assets are charting new all-time highs. FTX still says it's a good deal that avoids long, costly legal battles, and now it's up to a bankruptcy court to approve the plan. There have now been 2 shockers in the pageant world this week. First, it was Miss USA who relinquished her crown. Nuiella Voigt says she decided to step down to preserve her mental health. Then, 2 days later, Miss Teen USA resigned as well. Uma Sofia Srivastava explained, saying her personal values no longer fully align with the direction of the organization. And just last week, the Miss USA social media director shared on Instagram that she quit, saying, quote, "The way current management speaks about their title holders is unprofessional and inappropriate." But the organizers of the pageant say that's just not true, and that they're committed to, quote, "fostering a safe, inclusive, and supportive environment." They say they'll crown a new Miss USA and a new Miss Teen USA soon. It's being called the rap battle of this generation, and it's breaking streaming records. In recent weeks, Kendrick Lamar and Drake have been releasing several diss tracks about each other. And now, as far as streaming is concerned, Kendrick seems to be the winner. His song Not Like Us broke Spotify's single-day streaming record for a hip-hop song. On Apple Music, Not Like Us was on the top of the charts, and Drake's Family Matters was number 3. And it's not just these new songs that are trending up. Billboard says Kendrick's back catalog is up 49% after the recent beef, but Drake's is actually down 5%. All that said, this rap battle might not be over, and fans say they're still waiting for more surprise tracks. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, I want to take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Hiya Health. As parents, we always want to do the best we can for our kids. And one easy way that I found to make sure my toddler is getting the nourishment he needs is with Hiya's children's vitamins. Not only does Hiya fill the most common gaps in modern children's diets, but also these vitamins taste great. Or at least my kiddo thinks so because he takes one every morning with enthusiasm. And unlike other options, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk. Hiya is designed for kids 2 and up, so I started my toddler on Hiya vitamins right after he turned 2, even before Hiya was a podcast sponsor, and we're still taking them almost a year later. So yes, I was thrilled when they wanted to partner. I also recommend checking out their new Kids Probiotic and Nighttime Essentials. Again, we had started giving my toddler the probiotic a while ago, and he loves it. And I love that I know his body is getting what it needs. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. You can receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to Hiya, Hiya, health, HEALTH.com/newsworthy and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Today, we're talking about fluoride. It's been standard to add the mineral to municipal water systems since the 1940s. But in recent years, more and more cities and towns have decided to remove it. And anti-fluoride bills are now under consideration in many states. So there's a lot of debate going around about medical freedom and public health. On the one hand, major medical groups like the CDC, American Dental Association, and American Academy of Pediatrics support fluoridated water. They all cite studies that show it reduces tooth decay by 25% and that it's safe. On the other side, though, there are advocates who say it's not even about whether fluoride is good or bad, it's about consent. They say people should have a choice whether or not they want to ingest fluoride. And then there are others who say they're not so sure how good it is, since one study found IQ levels were slightly lower in children whose mothers had higher measures of fluoride in their systems when they were pregnant. The author of that research did not say fluoride should definitely be banned, since no other studies have shown similar findings. But he did say more research is needed. And some of that research is underway now. Scientists at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill are recruiting 200 children under 6 months old to use either fluoridated or non-fluoridated bottled water in their formula and drinking water. The plan is to follow them for 4 years to see how their teeth are doing, and they could decide later to look at IQ as well. All right, thank you so much for listening today and making us part of your daily routine. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.